A groundbreaking study published in Nature Neuroscience just proved something remarkable. The human brain processes time exactly like Einstein's theory of relativity predicted. But here's what's mind-blowing. A 13th century Sufi mystic named Rumi had already discovered this same principle centuries before either Einstein or modern neuroscience existed. He called it the son of time, and his insights about circular time are now being validated by laboratories around the world. The question is, how did a medieval poet crack the code of time before anyone else? What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you think about anxiety, regret, and your entire relationship with time itself. Because for over 700 years, Rumi's radical understanding of time has been hidden in plain sight, waiting for science to catch up. In 1905, Albert Einstein published his theory of special relativity, proving that time is not absolute, but relative to the observer. He showed that the rate at which time passes depends on your frame of reference. Einstein himself recognized the similarity between the relativity of physical and psychological time, famously saying, "When a man sits with a pretty girl for an hour, it seems like a minute. But let him sit on a hot stove for a minute, and it's longer than any hour." That's relativity. But Einstein wasn't the first to understand this principle. In 13th century Anatolia, a Persian poet named Rumi was writing verses that contained the same insights. In his masterwork, the Masnavi, Rumi wrote, "Like the tip of a spear passing through a shield, I pierce through night and day, looking from the other side. It's clear, all religions are one. 100,000 years and a single hour are one. A beginning of eternity and the end of eternity arch into union." This wasn't poetic metaphor. This was a precise description of what Einstein would later call the relativity of time. Rumi had discovered that time isn't linear but circular, that past and future converge in an eternal present. Modern research is now validating Rumi's insights with stunning precision. A study published in PLOS ONE found that the brain processes the duration of an event in a manner similar to Einstein's special relativity theory. The researchers discovered that a given time interval is registered differently by independent clocks dependent upon the context. Just as Einstein predicted, time is relative even in our own minds. To understand what Rumi discovered, we need to examine his concept of the son of time. This phrase has two contrasting meanings in Sufi philosophy. The first meaning describes someone who regards the present as all there is, without care or thought for the past or future. This leads to recklessness and giving in to the lower self. But there's a second, much deeper meaning. The son of time is someone who realizes that, at any moment, only that moment exists. From this perspective, Allah creates the world and everything in it each moment. In this realization, we share divinity by recognizing time as an eternal now, as a single point rather than linearity broken into fragments. The son of time is someone who is born anew out of every moment, capable of radically changing himself, for the better or worse in an instant. This understanding has profound implications. Repentance doesn't seem like an impossible, radical uprooting of a human's whole life. It becomes a process that can happen in a single moment because each moment is complete in itself. Rumi taught that when you truly understand time as circular rather than linear, your entire relationship with anxiety and regret transforms. If only the present moment truly exists, then worry about the future and guilt about the past lose their power over you. You realize these are mental constructions based on a fundamental misunderstanding of time's nature. This describes what we might call the evolution of consciousness through time. But in Rumi's understanding, this evolution isn't happening across linear time. It's happening in the eternal now. Each moment contains the possibility of complete transformation because each moment is all of time. Einstein's theory of relativity revealed that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. In what physicists call the block universe theory, all points in time exist simultaneously. Past and future are as real as the present. Time doesn't flow. We move through it. Rumi had described this same understanding centuries earlier. He wrote about piercing through night and day and seeing from the other side, where temporal distinctions collapse into unity. He spoke of the beginning and end of eternity arching into union, describing exactly what modern physics calls the block universe. Recent neuroscientific research has begun to understand how the brain creates our perception of time. Scientists have discovered that our neural circuits can dilate or contract our experience of time. Just as gravity affects time in Einstein's relativity, our neural activity affects our psychological time. Researchers manipulated the brains of mice by artificially slowing down patterns of neural activity, then accelerating them. The change in the animal's judgment of time provided convincing evidence that the brain's behavior directs an internal clock. This research reveals that time perception is not fixed but malleable, dependent on the state of consciousness observing. This validates Rumi's teaching that time is not external to consciousness but created by it. When Rumi wrote about different states of consciousness perceiving time differently, he was describing what neuroscience is now discovering. That time is largely a construction of the mind. But Rumi went further than describing the relativity of time. He taught practical methods for experiencing what he called the eternal now. In his poetry, he frequently emphasized presence as the key to understanding time's true nature. He wrote, "Reason, tread the path of selflessness into eternity. Remember God so much that you are forgotten. Let the caller and the called disappear. Be lost in the call." This describes a state where the sense of being a separate self moving through time dissolves, revealing the timeless awareness that is always present. Rumi taught that most people live in what he called psychological time. They carry the past with them as memory and project the future as expectation or anxiety. But this psychological time is not real time. Real time is the eternal present, the now that never comes and never goes because it always is. Modern research on time perception supports this understanding. Studies show that our sense of past and future are reconstructions created by the mind. Memory isn't a faithful recording of what happened, but a creative reconstruction influenced by present beliefs and emotions. Similarly, our imagination of the future is based on present fears and desires projected forward. When you understand time as Rumi did, you realize that anxiety about the future is anxiety about a mental construction. Regret about the past is regret about something that exists only in memory. Neither the future you worry about nor the past you regret has any existence outside of present thoughts. This doesn't mean planning for the future or learning from the Atha. Past is pointless, but it means recognizing that planning and learning happen in the present moment. You can prepare for tomorrow, but you do it now. You can understand yesterday, but you understand it now. The present moment is the only time that exists for taking action or gaining insight. Rumi's circular understanding of time also reveals why change often seems so difficult. If you think of time as linear, changing a habit or transforming your life feels like a long process that takes place over extended time. But if time is circular, if each moment is complete in itself, then transformation can happen instantly. This is why Rumi emphasized that the son of time is someone who can change radically from moment to moment. Each moment contains the full potential for awakening, healing, or transformation, because each moment is not just a point on a timeline, but a doorway to eternity. Einstein's equations revealed that as you approach the speed of light, time dilation becomes extreme. At the speed of light, time would theoretically stop altogether. Rumi described a similar phenomenon in consciousness. As awareness accelerates, Beyond the normal pace of thinking and feeling, psychological time begins to slow down and eventually stops in the eternal now. The implications of understanding time as circular rather than linear extend beyond personal transformation. It changes how you relate to death, meaning, and purpose. If time is truly circular, then death is not an ending but a transformation within an eternal cycle. What seems like loss from a linear perspective becomes change from a circular one. Rumi wrote, "Our death is our wedding with eternity." What is the secret? God is one. The sunlight splits when entering the windows of the house. This multiplicity exists in the cluster of grapes. It is not in the juice made from the grapes. This describes how the appearance of separation in time, including the separation between life and death, is like sunlight splitting through windows. The light itself is one, but it appears multiple when refracted through different openings. Similarly, consciousness is one, but it appears multiple when experienced through different moments in time. Recent developments in physics support this understanding. Research into the nature of space-time suggests that time and space are more unified than previously thought. Some theories propose that time might indeed be circular or cyclical at the deepest levels of reality. The practical application of Rumi's circular time understanding is profound. When you truly grasp that only the present moment exists, anxiety about the future naturally dissolves. You can still plan and prepare, but you do so from a place of presence rather than worry. Similarly, guilt and regret about the past lose their grip when you understand that the past exists only as present thoughts. You can learn from experience without being imprisoned by it. You become free to respond to each moment freshly, rather than carrying the weight of time. Rumi taught that this freedom is available in every moment, because every moment is a complete doorway to eternity. You don't have to wait for the right time or the right circumstances. The eternal now is always accessible, because it's what you are, not something you achieve. Modern neuroscience is beginning to understand how contemplative practices can alter time perception. Meditation, mindfulness, and other forms of focused attention can slow down subjective time and increase awareness of the present moment. These practices validate Rumi's teaching that time perception can be transformed through changes in consciousness. But Rumi went beyond techniques and practices. He pointed directly to the nature of awareness itself. He taught that when you recognize awareness as timeless, you discover that you are not subject to time, but the space in which time appears. This recognition doesn't require years of practice or special states of consciousness. It's available in any moment when you stop identifying with thoughts about past and future and recognize the awareness that is always present and never changes. The convergence of Rumi's mystical insights, Einstein's physics, and modern neuroscience points to a revolutionary understanding of time's nature. Time is not the fixed backdrop against which life unfolds, but a dynamic aspect of consciousness itself. When you understand time as Rumi did, as Einstein proved, and as neuroscience is confirming, you discover something extraordinary. You are not a prisoner of time, but its creator. Every moment offers the possibility of stepping outside linear time into the eternal now that Rumi called your true home. The circle of time is not something you enter, but something you recognize. You never left. Past and future are thoughts arising in an eternal present that has no beginning and no end. This is not just philosophy or poetry, but the deepest truth about the nature of existence itself. Rumi's gift to us across 8 centuries is this recognition. Time is a circle, and you are its center. From this center, all possibilities exist. Simultaneously, from this center, transformation is always available. From this center, you discover that what you have been seeking through time is what you are beyond time. The question Rumi poses is simple but profound. Will you continue living as if you are subject to time, or will you recognize yourself as the awareness in which time appears? The choice, as always, is yours. But now you know it's a choice, and perhaps for the first time, you can see the circle you've been standing in all along.